Today, we're going to talk about John Basilone, the U.S. Marine the Japanese feared most. His name became legend in the Pacific theater of World War II, not because he sought fame, but because his courage turned the tide of battle. At Guadalcanal, Basilone faced wave after wave of Japanese attacks, armed with nothing more than his machine guns, his willpower, and his determination to protect his fellow Marines. What he did in those desperate hours would make him a nightmare for the enemy and a hero for his country. Make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories of real war heroes. Now, let's begin. John Basilone was not born a hero. He was born on November 4th, 1916, in Buffalo, New York, the sixth of 10 children in an Italian-American family. Like many young men of his generation, his early life was shaped by hard work and modest means. Before the war, he worked as a truck driver and even served a short stint in the U.S. Army. But when the world was thrust into chaos, he found his true calling in the United States Marine Corps. When Basilone enlisted in the Marines in 1940, few could have predicted that he would become one of the most decorated heroes of the Pacific Campaign. His journey would lead him to some of the bloodiest battlefields of the war, where his name would become both a rallying cry for American troops and a source of dread for Japanese soldiers. The story that defined John Basilone began on the island of Guadalcanal in October 1942. The Marines had been locked in a desperate fight to secure the island, which was critical for controlling sea routes in the Pacific. The Japanese were determined to retake it at all costs. Supplies were scarce, the jungle terrain was brutal, and disease was rampant. Yet none of that compared to the relentless assaults of the Japanese forces, who attacked in waves, often at night, with the ferocity of warriors unwilling to surrender. Basilone was a machine gun section leader in the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. On the night of October 24th, the Japanese launched one of their fiercest assaults against the American lines near the Lunga perimeter. Thousands of enemy troops poured into the jungle, their mission simple: break through the Marines' defenses and crush them. It was here that Basilone's legend was forged. Positioned with just 2 machine gun crews, Basilone faced an onslaught of nearly 3,000 Japanese soldiers. The odds were staggering. As wave after wave charged through the jungle, Basilone and his men cut them down with bursts of machine gun fire. But the enemy did not stop. They came again and again, their shouts echoing through the night, their rifles and grenades flashing in the darkness. At one point, one of Basilone's machine guns overheated. Another was destroyed by enemy fire. Without hesitation, Basilone sprinted through enemy-infested ground to bring in new weapons and supplies. He repaired jammed guns in the middle of the firefight, his hands blistered and burned. He dragged ammunition belts across the battlefield, ensuring his Marines never ran dry. For 2 days and nights, Basilone fought with relentless energy. He moved between positions, firing, shouting orders, and keeping morale alive. When his ammunition finally ran low, he resorted to his sidearm, a .45 caliber pistol, and even a machete when close combat became unavoidable. By the end of the battle, nearly the entire Japanese regiment had been annihilated. Basilone's actions had saved his battalion from being overrun. His heroism earned him the Medal of Honor, the United States' highest award for valor. The citation praised his conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty. To his fellow Marines, he was simply the man who had refused to let them die. To the Japanese, he was the embodiment of relentless resistance. Back home, Basilone was celebrated as a national hero. He was paraded through the streets, appeared at rallies, and became a symbol of the Marine Corps' fighting spirit. War bond drives featured him as their star attraction, and Americans everywhere knew his name. But while many would have chosen to remain stateside, enjoying fame and safety, Basilone could not. He belonged with his brothers on the front lines. Despite being offered a comfortable role training new recruits, Basilone requested to return to combat. He turned down opportunities for easy assignments and insisted on rejoining his fellow Marines in the Pacific. His reasoning was simple. He had seen the cost of war, and he refused to let others carry that burden while he stayed behind. In 1945, Basilone found himself on the island of Iwo Jima, one of the most fiercely defended Japanese strongholds. The volcanic island was a fortress, bristling with bunkers, tunnels, and artillery. The Japanese defenders had prepared for months, knowing this was one of the last lines of defense before the homeland itself. For the Marines storming the beaches, it was hell on earth. On February 19, 1945, Basilone landed with the first wave of Marines. Immediately, they were met with murderous fire from Japanese positions hidden in the cliffs and caves. Machine guns swept the beaches, mortars exploded everywhere, and men fell by the dozens. Amid the chaos, Basilone once again showed the same ferocity and leadership that had saved lives at Guadalcanal. Charging forward under heavy fire, he single-handedly destroyed an enemy blockhouse with grenades and demolitions. He then grabbed a machine gun and provided covering fire, allowing his unit to advance off the deadly beach. Witnesses recalled him as unstoppable calm under fire, aggressive when the moment demanded, always thinking of his men before himself. But heroism comes with a price. Not long after pushing his men forward, Basilone was struck and killed by enemy fire. He was just 28 years old. For his actions on Iwo Jima, John Basilone was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross, the second highest award for valor in combat, and the Purple Heart. To this day, he remains the only enlisted Marine of World War II to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. John Basilone's story is not just about a Marine with a machine gun. It is about a man who embodied the values of duty, sacrifice, and brotherhood. His courage at Guadalcanal stopped thousands of Japanese soldiers in their tracks. His decision to return to combat, even when he could have remained safe, speaks volumes about his character. And his final sacrifice at Iwo Jima ensured his place among the greatest heroes in American history. Even decades later, Basilone's legacy endures. In his hometown of Raritan, New Jersey, streets bear his name and memorials honor his service. Marines are still taught his story as an example of the highest standard of courage and devotion. For the Japanese who faced him, he was the Marine who never backed down. For Americans, he was proof that one person's determination could alter the outcome of battle. John Basilone's story reminds us that true heroism isn't about seeking glory, but about stepping forward when everyone else might fall back. At Guadalcanal, he stood firm against impossible odds, fueled not by a desire for medals, but by the determination to protect his fellow Marines. And at Iwo Jima, when he could have stayed safe at home, he chose instead to return to the front lines because he believed his place was beside his brothers in arms. The Japanese feared him because of his relentless will, his unmatched skill, and the ferocity with which he defended his position. But perhaps what truly made Basilone unforgettable was the respect he earned from both allies and enemies alike. His courage didn't just inspire his comrades, it became a symbol of the Marine Corps' fighting spirit, an example of what it means to give everything for a cause greater than oneself. Today, his name lives on in Marine Corps history, in memorials, and in the stories passed down through generations. John Basilone proved that even a single man, armed with courage and conviction, can change the course of battle and etch his name forever into the annals of history. So when we talk about the U.S. Marine the Japanese feared most, we're not just recounting tales of combat. We're remembering a man whose sacrifice and determination continue to inspire to this day. If you want to hear more untold stories of extraordinary heroes like John Basilone, don't forget to subscribe. History is full of lessons worth remembering, and his story is one we should never forget.